Sometimes what we're falling in love with isn't the person in front of us. It's the idea of who they could be, what the relationship might become, or who we feel like we get to be around them. And this isn't because we're delusional or naive. It's because the mind is very good at filling in emotional gaps, especially when something feels intense, passionate, meaningful, or unfinished. So you may have felt deeply connected to someone. Even if the relationship never fully formed or was committed, you may have sensed potential, possibly, or emotional resonance that felt very, very real to you. But over time, you may start to notice that what you were attracted to wasn't entirely who they actually were. It was the story, the meaning, and the future that you imagined with them. And that distinction can be painful, but it can also be extremely clarifying. Maybe you met someone and the chemistry was immediate. The conversations went deep quickly. You felt seen in a way that was rare, but the relationship never quite solidified. They were inconsistent or emotionally unavailable, or the timing was off. And yet, you couldn't let go because what you felt was real. The potential seemed real. The meaning, the story was real. But the relationship itself, that part was harder to pin down. And if that sounds familiar, you are not alone. And what's happening isn't irrational, it's structural. The human mind is a meaning-making system. It doesn't just record events, it interprets them, organizes them, and builds narratives around them. So when we meet someone who activates us emotionally, who gets us going, the mind starts constructing a story. It looks for signs of compatibility, shared values, or emotional depth. It imagines how the relationship could grow. And when the connection is intense, real passionate, but not fully defined, the mind often begins to fill in the missing pieces with hope, projection, or possibility. You might find you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe they're just guarded. Maybe they'll open up over time. Maybe we just need more time together. I have to be more understanding. There's something special here. There's something rare. I know it. I can feel it. And none of those thoughts are necessarily wrong, but they often come from potential and not a shared reality. From a depth psychology perspective, we tend to project our own longings, needs, desires, and inner images onto other people who activate us. If someone reflects a part of ourselves that feels alive, seen, or expanded, we start to associate them with that feeling. They become the source of it, even if they're only the mirror of it. In that sense, projection isn't just a mistake. It's also how the psyche recognizes possibility, senses meaning, and reaches towards growth. But when projection isn't grounded in mutual reality, we end up attached to an image, not a relationship. This is especially true when the connection is emotionally charged. But the relationship at the same time is ambiguous, or there's distance, inconsistency, or uncertainty. In those conditions, the mind doesn't have enough concrete reality to work with, so it fills in those spaces with imagination, hope, and emotional meaning. This kind of intense, idea-driven attachment, sometimes called limerence, thrives on ambiguity. It feels like love, but it's structured more like longing. And it isn't a flaw. It's a natural response to emotional intensity without relational clarity. And again, this isn't a failure of intelligence. It's a natural function of the psyche. So if projection is part of how we recognize meaning, the question becomes, how do we know when we're responding to who someone is versus who we hope they'll become? That's where the distinction between potential and reality becomes essential. One of the hardest distinctions to make in relationships is the difference between who someone is consistently and who they could be under the right conditions. Potential is very powerful. It carries hope, energy, and imagination. But relationships are built on patterns, not potential. A relationship is shaped by how someone shows up over time, how they respond to conflict, how they handle closeness, and how safe and mutual the connection feels. Potential is a possibility. Reality is a pattern. And when we stay attached to potential, we can end up investing in a version of someone that never quite materializes. What I've noticed in my clients is that letting go of the idea of someone can be harder than letting go of the person themselves. Because the idea combines that hope, the fantasy, the imagination, the emotional meaning, the future that never got the chance to unfold the way we knew we could have unfolded. You're not just grieving who they are, you're grieving what the relationship could have become and the person that you saw yourself becoming as a result of having the relationship. And that grief is often invisible. There's no shared timeline, there's no official breakup often, or a clear ending. Just a quiet realization that the relationship existed more in imagination and emotional potential than in shared lived intimacy. And that can feel deeply disorienting. Before we finish, I want to offer you a small somatic check-in. Nothing complicated, just a moment of honesty to be with your own body, to bring it down from the mind into the heart. So if you can, let your shoulders soften just a little. Unclench your jaw. Take in one slow breath and a long breath out. Now bring that person to mind, that one that feels full of potential, the one where it feels like something could happen someday. And just notice what happens in your body when you begin to think about their potential. Not the reality, the possibility. Is there a lift in your chest, a flutter in your stomach, this sense of leaning forward like you're waiting for something to finally begin? Just notice the sensation for a moment. And now gently ask yourself a different question. What are they actually giving me right now? Not what they could become, not what they might be later, but what is real, consistent, and present now. And again, just notice how your body responds to that. Do you feel more relaxed? Do you feel more tense? Do you feel grounded in the body? Or do you feel uncertainty in the heart? Is there a sense of steadiness or a sense of confusion, of fogginess? For many people, the feeling of potential is charged, more electric. It creates movement in the body. But the feeling of reality is often quieter, simpler, sometimes even a little disappointing. And that doesn't always mean it's wrong. Sometimes it just means it's honest. See which state feels more sustainable in your body. The charge of potential or the steadiness of what's actually here. Because a lot of the time we're not stuck on the person. We're stuck on the feeling of who they could become, and the body almost always knows the difference. Thank you so much for being here with me today. My name is Kristen. Welcome to this channel, and I am here simply to remind you that you are your own first healer and guide, and My offering is some guidance, some wisdom, some validation, some benchmarks to help you along the way in whatever your personal growth process is, in the relationships in your life, your intimacy, your boundaries, and most important, that self-connection, because that is the key to all of our relationships. The deeper, more intimate, more stronger relationship we have with ourselves, the deeper our clarity, our grounding, our strength, the more likely we are to attract those into our life that are going to be in alignment with who we are now. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you a part of the community. I am a baby channel, so your like would mean the world to me to get this video out there. If it helped you, then it will help a lot of other people as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Be good. Bye.